first year we sold deli tubers, it was about 20% of our business. And now it's 99% of our business. And the other
everything else is just fun.
1% is
like
agritourism and events and seeds and lots of other things that we do to have diversity. But there's just such a strong demand for deli tubers right now that it just keeps taking up the lion's share of our business.
It's a little bit irrational.
For having us.
Yeah, good to be here.
So you know a little something about flowers, but specifically dahlias. Triple Wren Farms, you're here locally in Whatcom County. Run me through a little bit more about who you are and what you do and what problem you set out to solve.
Oh, great question.
Want to start?
Okay, so we're Steve and Sarah. We run and own Triple Wren Farms here in Ferndale, so just about 10 minutes north of Bellingham, but we're in Bellingham almost every day, so we are in a great place in the county to be able to reach out to lots of places. We started our business in 2012 as a cut flower farm, actually really just as a hobby and an experiment. And then we needed to turn it into a business when people wanted to pay us money for the products we were creating. So we did. And then
it's a good problem.
Yeah, it is a good problem to have. And we didn't really know where this business would go. We wanted to create something beautiful. We wanted some side income. We wanted to just explore it. Actually, before we started our business, we didn't even think about the fact that there were flower farmers, that there were people who grew flowers.
They show up, right?
Yeah, well, I guess I had this vague notion that farmers who grew vegetables also had a patch of flowers, and I don't know. I don't think I really thought it through.
It's just a thing.
But it's a $1 billion industry. I mean, or billions of dollars. Yeah, it is.
Billions, yeah.
It is a huge thing in the world and in Western Washington as well, because as many of you know, in Skagit County, there's probably the biggest tulip grower in the United States or in North America.
Can't miss it.
No, they're dahlias.com for goodness sake. So
Tulips.com.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they're not dahlias.com.
That's your website.
Yeah, no, I wish. No, please
whoever owns it, we're probing out there right now. Whoever owns that,
they know us and they're not selling.
Yeah.
So in Skagit County, there's tulips.com, and they have all kinds of amazing things that go around their own industry, and that's creeping up here too. But we grow dahlias primarily now, but in the beginning we didn't. We grew maybe 50 dahlias our first year and 50 sunflowers and more than that, but
a lot more.
A few hundred sunflowers, a few hundred zinnias. We just planted everything we could find seeds for and explored it. And our business has changed so much in the past 10 years. It is a little bit breathtaking. Our heads are still spinning a bit, and we probably will change just as much in the next 10 years. When I first started, I was watch other small business people who change their business model frequently, and I would think, oh, they really don't have it all together, or they need to get
glad we're not like that.
But what I know now is that was not true at all, but rather they were agile and aggressive at finding what was the best course of action for their business for whatever reasons it was. Right. Yeah. And that's key, and it has turned out to be key for us as well.
So let's go back to that point where you narrowed it down to dahlias. You had how many different varieties of flowers on your property?
Oh, well over 100 different varieties.
And were they random choices, or were they pretty, I like this flower, or I think this, or more, was it like this, I like this flower and it is easy to monetize as well?
Yeah. I think there was a different variables into why we grew what we grew at first. I think beginning really was, like Sarah said, was more of a hobby or more of an experiment. We were babysitting somebody's property, and
was it a flower?
It was
property?
Not. It was an orchard.
Okay.
So I was trying to understand how to grow apples, how to keep them healthy. I didn't know anything about that.
Do you eat a lot of them? Is that?
Yeah.
You have to test a lot.
Way too many.
Yeah.
Made a lot of cider. Yeah, it was good. But in the midst of doing that, Sarah kind of picked up on this whole opportunity because it was some land that wasn't being used, and then we were given a blank slate to do whatever we wanted to do. I thought we would grow vegetables, and I would take those to the farmer's market, and that's how we would. Whatcom County has many, many good vegetable farmers. I am not one of them.
Yeah.
So she grew flowers, and we sold every stem. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, we fed the rabbits and the other pests, and occasionally got a carrot or two out of the patch. So then that kind of informed what we were growing, why we were growing it, because we were looking around. Hey, what flowers do you need? We'll grow those. And so then it was, can we grow Nigella? Sure. Let's see what Nigella
What
is.
is that?
Okay, yeah. How do you grow it when you start it? And
there are certain specific characteristics that make good cut flowers.
Mhm.
And so we were growing things for cut flowers, and we hooked up with a market in Seattle that gave us a place to sell our flowers
Mhm.
beyond just taking them door to door to different florists and saying, hey, would you buy my flowers? And then our business took off quickly because we had a very hungry market that was ready.
So is that how you started? Was it just going from floral
Literally.
shop to floral shop?
Literally,
saying,
not,
hey, you like this?
would you come
Yeah.
look at the flowers
Yeah.
in my backseat?
Did you
and
start
see
with the
if you
vegetable
want-"
with Steve's vegetables and go, you could have this or you could have these?
no. That was an embarrassment we kept under wraps.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There was this
Long play.
Yeah, yeah.
whole fancy radish stage of our farming
We
that
did.
never
We grew a
went
lot of
over.
awesome radishes.
There's different types.
Oh, man.
Oh man,
But
we grew-
chefs
we
don't
grew
need
probably-
that many.
we probably grew
Fancy.
7 or 8 types just ourselves.
Oh my.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I just thought there was one radish. It's it's yay big and it's red and that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, in the very beginning, that's what I figured about apples. The guy was looking for somebody to manage property, and he said, would you consider doing this? And I said, I don't know anything about apples. I said, I do know there's red ones and there's yellow ones, and I think there's green ones.
Yeah.
Now I can probably give you about 3 or 4 dozen varieties, and there's probably about 800 to 1,000 that are recognized cultivars. So yeah, apple business is a serious business in Washington.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You walk down the stand at Bellwood and you go,
Yeah.
oh, what is this one? They're all different.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'll
so
taste
cool.
different too.
So you were knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And how was that experience for you?
Well, this was in 2012, and every florist I met was super nice. They didn't always need what I had, but they were encouraging. They're like, yeah, we would love to have more locally grown flowers. And they were very generous in telling me types of flowers they wanted to have. And so we tried to grow those. And we were just, our business was growing slowly. We can look at year over year, percentage by percentage. It never regressed. It was always growing. But it wasn't until we started wholesaling, until we grew enough dahlias that we had extra tubers. We didn't want to plant them all. Dahlias do produce a little bit like rabbits, so they make lots of tubers if you grow them well. And we started wholesaling them to another retailer, and we're very happy to do that. I was like, you know what? This is great. I can sell my extra dahlia tubers for a few bucks a tuber, and I don't deal with any customer service or try to figure out a
They deal with all that
storefront.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of years, they stopped doing retail dahlia sales. And Steve said, we should start a retail dahlia tuber store. And I kept thinking of all the big problems, all
And
the
Sarah
roadblocks.
said, no way, we're not equipped for that. And I said, we're not equipped to grow flowers, but we're doing a pretty good job of that too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was very overwhelming to think about all the technological pieces that had to go into that. And I wanted to do it really well. I didn't want to do it halfway. I wanted to make sure that we covered our bases and that we didn't,
We kind of do everything on a large scale.
Yeah.
So
I noticed.
when we started.
Yeah.
So we started and we sold out all the tubers we put in the store within just a couple hours.
Yeah, pretty quick.
Another
real
good
quick.
problem. Yeah.
And then the next year we put 3 or 4 times as many in the store and sold out within a couple hours.
Mhm.
And we built systems that made it so that we could handle shipping and preparing and organizing all those dahlias. And now, I mean, back then I think dahlia sales were maybe 20% of our business the first year we tried because it was really successful. It took a big chunk of our business.
And you're still
grew
growing
us.
other flowers at this time too,
Mhm, Yeah.
but they're slowly
Yes.
going away.
Well,
Well,
I think at the time we were just to add stability to what started as a hobby and was rapidly getting out of control. I knew that there was certain things that we needed to establish. And if you're just selling fresh cut flowers, or if you're just selling dahlias, or if you're fresh cut dahlias, or if you're just selling with tubers, then you've got a limitation on your cash flow because that only happens. Like we only have cut flowers in Whatcom County for the most part.
Yeah.
Very short window.
May to September at best,
Right.
mostly best, maybe October.
Maybe
So
October.
storage becomes, or like just timeline becomes an issue.
Timeline, right? Because as much as you want a peony, if you want it in January, you can't get it.
Yeah.
They don't grow.
Nowhere on Earth, or just
Oh, yeah.
nowhere in the Northwest.
Well, you can't get it locally.
Yeah.
You can
makes
ship
sense.
it from Chile or Alaska, depending on the time of year, for sure. But
then it's cost prohibitive,
Yeah.
right? Because then you're spending $5 just to get it here.
Yeah.
And then you got to charge for it.
Yeah.
Well,
So we had a very seasonal business, and growing dahlia tubers allowed us to extend that season quite a bit.
How long can you store those for?
We store them from October till April, and then we ship them.
Do
So
they have to be cold, or what's the
Yeah.
dark?
there's a little bit of magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't make you give it away.
No,
Oh,
we
no,
do.
it's-
You have to store
yeah.
them in a super humid environment. Dark is good, so always a big
Mhm.
plus to keep roots in the dark, and they don't get stimulated to grow. And then about 40 degrees, you
Yeah.
can have some wiggle room
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Airflow. You got to control your airflow. You got to control your humidity, and you got to control your temperature.
Yeah.
Those are the three. Those are the three pillars of dahlia storage.
Yeah.
So the first year we sold dahlia
Yeah.
tubers, it was about 20% of our business, and now it's 99% of our business. And the other
Everything else is just fun.
1% is
I like that.
agritourism and events and seeds and lots of other things that we do to have diversity. But there's just such a strong demand for dahlia tubers right now that it just keeps taking up the lion's share of our
It's
business.
a little bit irrational, to be honest with you.
That's okay. That's,
We like it.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with liking
We're trying to
irrationality.
perpetuate that.
Yeah. Well, there's a point that I'm just kind of feeling out here where you had this. It sounds like you had this growth that was, or this scaling that was not really. You weren't setting out to scale. You started out with this being a hobby, and then you're like, oh my god, this is scaling without us intending for it to scale. And then there's a point, and I'd love to talk about this, where you go, okay, now we're intending to scale. Tell me about that transition from let's ride the wave to like, let's harness the wave, let's harness this and scale intentionally from here.
Yeah, I think just it kind of goes hand in hand with, we didn't know anything about growing flowers, and we didn't know anything about the business of flowers, but we figured out the growing, and then we thought we figured out the business. And the more we kind of matured in understanding, we realized that the business of flower farming, or specifically selling dahlias, it's unique in that it's different from real estate, but the principles are exactly the same.
Right.
So tapping into that and understanding, there's a whole world of resources to help us understand what's going on a little bit better. And then that started to inform what we were doing and why we're doing it. Because you put something in the ground, you take care of it, and most of the time you're rewarded with a good result. But sometimes that's a little iffy. So now you got to plan for that, and that has to go into your general scope of what we're doing, when we're doing it, and why we're doing it, so that we can kind of protect from that.
Yep.
So I think our biggest weakness over the years has been that we grow really well, our flowers, we actually grow things really well, and then we find a market for it, and we grow a lot of it, and then we hit this bump where we haven't developed the infrastructure from year to year to handle the growth, right, in some way. And it's different every time because we don't want to repeat our same mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So we run into it in different places. We don't have a barn big enough to process 900 bouquets every Tuesday, or we don't have enough employees, or we don't have enough capital for the gas that it takes to drive it where we need to go, or all those little things. So year by year we worked those out, and I think that it comes in waves for us. Like we did this with cut flowers, where we committed to grow thousands and thousands of sunflowers for groceries, and then almost used all of our emotional, mental, and physical resources by the end of the year trying to make it happen, because we didn't understand that we needed bits of infrastructure that weren't existing. And we saw that, and then we started doing dahlia tubers, and we had room to store 15,000 dahlia tubers. But then when you double or triple that, you have to think, okay, I need cold storage for all these tubers. I need access to that cold storage. I need a way to organize it. I mean, I can organize a cabinet of things a whole lot easier than I can organize 3 storage containers. And what kind of technology do we need for all of that? And how do we communicate with our staff who is increasingly not English speaking? And so how do we work with them in all of these ways? So it has been an exciting ride. But I think there are patterns of, okay, let's grow because we see a market and we have the ability to grow, but do we have all of the pieces that we need to make sure that we can make it through this season to the next level?
And that's another thing about seeing some success and realizing an opportunity. But just because that's out there doesn't mean it's right for us.
Right.
Right.
There's so many different avenues you can take, and you obviously want to take as many as you can, because that hypothetically you want to take as many of those routes as you can.
Mhm.
But how do you guys decide on when to expand into different like new lanes of the industry or contract? Like they're both valuable.
I have a really good example that can answer this question. So our wedding flowers business. So when we first started growing flowers, I was like,
wedding.
Yeah. Well, I thought, no, I didn't want to do that because I couldn't design with flowers. I could barely buy flowers at the grocery store and make them look decent in a vase. I didn't think they looked good, so I never had fresh flowers.
That's not actually true.
But I felt like that, and we were growing fields of flowers, and I started to feel really guilty that, I should be doing something with this resource. So I just took pictures of arrangements that I liked and printed them on my printer and taped them to my porch. And I just went out there and picked the flowers I could see in there and tried to recreate it. And I did this every night for a year of growing. And then started giving them to people once I thought they looked decent. And our flower business started by word of mouth, because people would say, I saw your arrangement. Would you make these for me? And I did. And it grew so quickly that within 5 years, I think we did 300 summer weddings. And we designed all of them. It was a lot. It was too much. But it makes me think
too much. Yeah.
It was. That's probably, we'll probably say that about most aspects of our business. Oh, you're doing great. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Malcolm Gladwell talks about that 10,000 hours of practice in his Outliers book.
Outliers, yeah.
And he says almost anyone can be decently good at something if they'll just practice it, if they practice it well. And I absolutely believe this.
I haven't reached 10,000 hours with podcasting yet, so I'm still on that
Keep
journey.
going.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I've reached
10,000
10,000 hours of flower designing, but I'm confident in doing it now, and I can teach other people how to do it. And if I had to, we could start a flower designing business now and go on with it, but just simply because I practiced it. And I really see this as a message I want to tell lots of small business owners, that you don't have to be an expert at something. If you love it and you want to try it, you should try it and you should practice it and just see where it goes. You should just start and see where it goes. Some businesses obviously need technical training or licenses. I'm not just talking about that.
The medical field.
Yeah.
Need some practice first.
Or airline pilots.
Yeah, please.
But like just things that you think you might want to use as a side stream of revenue or to turn it into your main source of revenue, I think you should try it. But we stopped doing wedding flowers because every Friday and Saturday and lots of Sundays we were
weddings are a lot.
Yeah, I wasn't with my kids. We now have kids that are 15 and 12, but 5 years ago they were late elementary school, and we didn't have time to do fun things because we were forever with all the nice weather.
Can't you just give them a flower or a toy or something?
They did plenty of that.
Yeah.
I would take them to an event and buy them a new Lego kit and put them in the corner and be like, make this, show me what you can make. And it would work, but that you can go broke buying Lego kits.
Yeah. They were always expensive. They're still expensive. You just talked about creativity, and I just want to take a moment to talk about that, because you both have this and I don't know you well, but from as we're getting to know each other better and your story, something that I'm learning is that you have this willingness to try. You have this willingness to hey, give it a shot. Mm-hmm. What's the worst that could happen? Now, is this something that you both you were born and you had this innate ability to try things, or did your parents raise you in a way that was hey, go out and get dirty and bang your knee and figure it out?
Yeah, normal relationships. One is a little bit more risky, and the other one is a little more stable, a little more cautious, and it sometimes can go very, very badly.
Who's the pirate?
Both of us.
You're both pirates.
Both of us are. We are not risk averse.
We discovered that.
We're let's try it. We could fail miserably. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe we could succeed.
Yeah. You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, you would dig up worms and sell them to fishermen, and you would breed guppies and sell them to the pet store owner. And I would go around and sell homemade stationery to my neighbors. And my parents found out that I collected all this money from my lovely neighbors.
So you've always been somewhat entrepreneurial.
But we
finding problems, finding a solution.
We didn't know what that word meant back then.
No.
Yeah, it's overrated. We call it entrepreneurial.
There you go.
It's just overused. So, anyways.
I was just curious.
Yeah. Well, I think that is a hallmark of ours, that we are curious. We want to know how things happen. We don't want to just just make money. We want to do something that's delightful. And we had this opportunity that I feel like was such a gift, that we were in a place where there was some land that we could practice growing. We did not know what we were doing. We absolutely did not.
We still don't know what we're doing. Don't let them kid you.
We read every book and listened to every, I don't know if we were listening to podcasts then.
We used Google and YouTube a lot back then.
And other people's blogs, I would just stare at pictures and think, how did they grow that? How did they plant that? What is that right there? And we just tried to copy it. And then we used And
we were really excited when we found somebody that says, you can't do this. This flower is really hard to grow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're like, no, just
say I can't.
Yeah. So, I mean, all those things go into doing what we do now.
Mm-hmm.
But, as you go through life, the stakes get higher. Like, I really don't want to fail with a high schooler and a middle schooler, right? We want to make sure we have a stable life for them. So I think that the things that we try now are a little less risk averse than they were in 2012, but that's still running through our veins for sure.
So balance, what does that mean to you? You're scaling a business. There's two sides. There's being a parent. There's being a partner. There's being a business partner.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, how do you balance all these things? Because I know I've struggled with these concepts at different points in my career. Tell me about your journey. Tell me whatever you want to tell me about it. Tell me about your journey with finding some sort of sanity and balance in being a business owner.
So the obvious response is, what is this balance you speak of?
Yeah.
Well, I think we went through this whole phase where we talked about what hat we were wearing. Like, am I wearing my wife hat or my mom hat or my, for a while,
that's a good one.
We were, or my farmer hat or my, and just sort of compartmentalizing those roles helped a good bit. I think at the beginning we were way off balance. We worked all the time. We just worked. We went to church on Sunday and we worked 24/7 all the rest of the days, But we really, when your kids are super little and you're farming, you can just put them in a backpack or take them along with you and they love it.
Yeah, it's not an unhealthy thing to be doing.
No, but as they got a little bit older and they started having, wanting to play sports or do other things, we started realizing, we should have realized it before probably, but
maybe.
So we needed to have a little better work-life balance. It's elusive. It's really hard to find, especially if you do what you love.
Yeah.
But just because you're doing what you love and you're working for it doesn't mean that it's healthy for you to do it all the time.
Right.
I think Steve does a really good job. Please don't think I'm making fun of you, but he has a really good job of balancing.
She's making fun of you.
No,
yeah,
not.
He's definitely
He will stop and rest. He'll stop and do something that he enjoys, where I find myself having a harder time doing that. Not out of guilt, but because
just
my favorite thing is to work. I love it. I can avoid all my other problems by just working.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But
sorry, I couldn't handle that. Sorry, I couldn't.
I just have to work.
Yeah.
But
sorry, we can't come to your podcast.
Yeah.
We got a farmer.
Yeah, we got a farmer. Yeah. It's a reasonable excuse.
Yeah. When we were first married, I remember one Saturday, Steve was like, let's go do this fun thing, and then we'll come back home and mow the lawn and do the chores. And I was just like,
we got to do all that first, and then we.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Because
you've got boxes to check.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, but I think as we've grown together in marriage, this year we'll be married 18 years.
All right.
We've been business partners for over 10 years. I feel like we're rubbing off on each other, in that way. And it's a good thing to find balance, because I don't think either one of us is very balanced. Sorry.
So you're finding balance and imbalance?
No, we're finding balance. Yeah, maybe that's a good way to put it. We're finding balance.
I was just trying to sound cool in that moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything what I said. It didn't work. Completely flopped.
No,
truisms. Say truisms.
I can see where that is, because what feels balanced to me and what feels naturally balanced to you is actually imbalanced, and moving out of our comfort zone and finding something that is truly more, I've just been putting my phone down at a certain time every night, and I mostly have my phone so I can work, so I can tweak stuff in the website or answer questions on social media or via an email or something. And I started putting it down, and I found myself walking around my house like,
doesn't like being put down.
No, like, now what do I do? I mean, all the chores are done.
It's like the Ring of Power from the Lord of the Rings.
Come back to me,
my precious, my precious.
But I'm making myself go through this exercise right now. Just, who knows how long it'll last.
Yeah.
But because I'm wanting to open up other ways to find better balance, work-life balance is a cliche, but for us, it's kind of like family life balance for now. And I guess when our kids are more grown up, it still will be somewhat, but it'll, we just want to be building relationships with people, not just living our life to make money or to make a successful business or to meet, we talk a lot about relationships. Like in the summertime, sometimes we have to just stop and go for a walk in the flowers, sort of like a mini
Sounds
date.
really rough. I feel bad for you
Yeah.
that you have to.
Well, I mean, we have to start calculating the flowers and go and enjoy the flowers.
And when we're walking in those flowers, we have to put our phones away and put our notepads away, because when we walk through the flower field, hold on.
Take a
I
picture.
need to address
take a
this.
note.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
Make a
There's
note
that
later.
weed there.
Right.
That irrigation needs fixing. Oh, I need it. No, we got to stop that and just enjoy.
Right, because we have almost 1,000 varieties of flowers to manage. We have a crew that we
Just
share.
dahlias. 1,000
Yes, just
varieties.
dahlias, and we
Dahlias,
do grow
yeah.
about 100 other flowers. We co-plant for biodiversity, and also so people will see how good our seeds look with our dahlia tubers.
Let's take it. Let's go down
And
the science
just
road.
because we can.
Yeah, because you can. Yeah. Let's just dive into science for a moment. Biodiversity. Why is that important to plant? Different types of flowers, roots, soil. Tell me about all those things. That's all I know about
Go ahead.
flowers.
Yeah, well, I think the initial, maybe the biggest payoff for biodiversity is pest control or the health of the plant. So if there is, let's say you have an American chestnut tree and you say, hey, this is really good, and you plant thousands of them all together. If a pest that is going to, if that's really susceptible to one type of pest, then that pest comes in and knocks out your whole chestnut orchard, which actually happened in American history. If you look at it, we don't have any American chestnuts left except for one or two.
Just imported chestnuts now?
Yes. Yeah, they really are. They're hybridized.
Yeah.
They're
So
hybridized.
that kind of crop is called a monocrop,
Yeah.
where
Right.
you have only one kind.
Right. And then this war that's taking place against big ag, quote unquote, that's part of the argument. This actually has a little bit of truth. If you plant 10,000 acres of wheat, well, let's just say this. Whatcom County, we grow a lot of raspberries, which is a fantastic crop. They grow really well here. But let's say we just went ahead and grew nothing but raspberries here. All right. So
Cover the whole county.
Yeah, there's a couple of problems with that. Number one, all of the pollinators and everything that relies on food for raspberries, that's a short window.
Yeah.
So they make a lot of food during, especially the bees.
Mhm.
Right? You hear those bee wars, right? So the bees make a ton of honey when raspberries are in bloom. But then the raspberries stop blooming and they put the fruit on, and there's no more food in the raspberries. So now those pollinators got to find something different. So if we had let's say we grew all roses, there would be a lot of food for the insects and for the bees and for everything else while they're flowering, and then they stop flowering. Then what happens to all that?
So if there's no overlap, the
There
bee
you go.
population disappears.
And
Part of the
also-
problem we're having with our European, because we don't have an American bee that we keep in colonies. It's a European honeybee. So managing that is important, and that's why a professional beekeeper will take them and they'll start them in California, and they follow what they call the sap trail or the fruit. My mind's going blank.
Honey?
That's essentially what happens, but they're following
It's basically a pollen trail.
pollen trail. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when the almonds in California flower, that's where the bees are. And then all of a sudden there's another crop and they move all the bees over to the other crop. And it just keeps coming. It comes right up here to Washington, to Oregon, to our pears, to our plums, and then to our apples, to the cherries. And so there's this little track. And it's that way because they're looking for maximum production, right? But even in our small ecosystem here, we're looking at having a healthy environment. So all of the other things that depend on food and the different things that we're growing, we overlap them for the benefit of everything else. And then also if we struggle with a particular insect and we have dahlias planted right next to, let's say, dill, something loves to eat the dahlias. They don't like the dill so much. And then, you go into different types. So it helps us manage that.
And also pollinators balance each other. Not every pollinator is good in the sense of pollinators are good because they help us make fruit, right? Not just fruit to
But
eat.
not every
fruits.
pollinator is good for every flower.
Right.
Yeah.
Some bugs that are pests for flowers do also pollinate, and there are ones that we consider beneficial pollinators and ones that aren't as beneficial, and they balance each other in the population. So we give them all different kinds of environments. But also it's not just bugs or insects, but it's disease that can attack a certain kind of plant and won't attack another kind of plant. And so we are basically, you probably learned in 8th grade about crop rotation, right? You don't grow potatoes in the same field.
Not at Roosevelt.
Not
Not
here.
at the Eckstein Middle School in Seattle. We were learning about urban planning or something.
Oh,
It's
well,
this-
that's valuable too.
I'm just kidding. I don't know what you're learning.
But you don't grow potatoes in the same field year after year after year, or the pathogens that attack potato plants become endemic in that soil, and you rotate your crops if you're a good farmer. This is why you'll see farmers around town pulling out raspberries after, I think it's 7 years generally, a number of years, and they'll plant something different there for a while, or they'll take
Because the soil's still good, but you have to rotate.
Right, you gotta
When those things
crop
take
type.
something out of the soil. So potatoes take something different than winter wheat or the raspberries or one of the other rotational crops. And so to make sure that you get the best, we grow a lot of seed potatoes here. So to make sure you grow the best seed potatoes, you grow them in a plot for 1 year, you take them out and you amend that soil with stuff that soil is going to need, and then you plant raspberries for a couple of years.
This sounds really simple.
Yeah, well, these big
Drive with bees in your
operations-
car up the coast.
Yeah.
Rotate your crops. Simple. Anyone can do it.
So
If it were easy, we wouldn't have the problems that we have.
our
Indeed.
farm is about 20 acres, and we're just a tiny little drop in the bucket of agriculture in Washington State. But for what we are doing, we're doing our best to be diverse in the way we don't plant our rows in the same place. We do a fair amount of agritourism at our farm, and we do really wide walkways in between our rows. We could grow more crops if we just crammed them a little bit closer together, but we want them to be accessible for all kinds of people to be able to come and walk or drive their accessibility mobiles, their
That's
wheelchairs, but in our fields or whatever it is to feel really comfortable. And so we can move our field over 6 feet every year and grow plants in the aisles where there was only clover and grass the year before, and rotate crops like that too. So those are some of our goals.
Sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes I'm just a little crooked when I draw.
But you're organized, and
Yeah.
so let's talk about how you guys are crooked but organized with your planting. So
Excellent.
So-
Yeah.
So with all of these different varieties, species of dahlias, is it a species of dahlia?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're absolutely right.
How do you organize that? Because they probably don't have as tubers. When you're planting them, they probably don't look different.
They
Just
don't
gotta talk
look
to 'em.
different.
What's your name again?
Okay.
So it does
Yeah.
take a tremendous amount of organization. So when we plant our dahlias, we plant all of one variety together. Best case scenario.
And you're sure, right?
We plant it and then we label it in a couple of different ways. And then when they bloom, we have whole weeks of the year where our crew goes around and checks every plant. Are you who you're supposed to be? And make sure. And then at some point, all the ones that, we have a problem with geese that come to our farm and nose dahlias out. And so then our crew will go find a tuber and they'll just tuck it in the ground somewhere. And
Yeah.
it's always
they
exciting.
Scoop them out.
Yeah. So then they might not always get put back in the right place. But it's a handful. It's like less than 1% of our tubers that happens too. So as long as our labels are correct, we plant everything. And then when we harvest, we redundantly label everything. So in the cooler, everything has 2 labels so that we try to keep it all really straight. And we don't sell all the varieties that we grow. One big thing that we do at our farm that we haven't even talked about yet is this is your brainchild, Steve. You want to talk about our legacy program?
Uh-oh. What is it?
Well, so in the beginning, the varieties of dahlias that we started to grow, and really all the varieties of flowers, we would see a really good scabiosa. Like that's the scabiosa, that's the blue scabiosa we're going to grow. And then for the dahlias, hey, this one really holds up well in the vase. It has good form and all the other criteria that we're looking for. So we started growing those, and then just in our trying to understand more about flowers, trying to understand more about dahlias, I started attending the Whatcom County Dahlia Association, just a little club of people.
I didn't know it was there.
It is.
Now I do.
It is, yeah. They're a cool group, and they just in understanding a little bit more about dahlias and learning from those folks, I got to know that some of those people actually made their own variety, like they hybridized.
Yeah.
So different type of plants. You got annuals and you got perennials. Well, a dahlia, you can start it from a seed as an annual. You plant it this year, it grows up, and it could be a red flower. And then you save the seeds from that red flower and you plant them again. You might not get a red flower. You might get a pink flower. You might get a yellow flower.
Okay.
You might get
How many? And there's different seeds have different varietals.
Well, so if you plant a sunflower seed, you're going to get a sunflower. And it's going to look pretty close to what you planted. But a dahlia is an octoploid, and it has more chromosomes. And so the thing is, it can grow something completely different, and usually it does.
Yeah.
It has incredible genetic diversity.
It does.
Really
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, you can grow. We used to grow a lot of what we called a ball form dahlia. So
Okay.
it's really tight. The petals wrap, and so it's just geometrical. And it
It
looks
ships well.
yeah,
It
ships
ships
well. That was a big criteria for us at the beginning. But if you take the seeds from that, probably about 70-80% won't be a ball form. There might be an open center. They might be a really big one. They're just going to do all kind of stuff
They're
because
just like, I'm going to do whatever I want.
exactly
Because they're
exactly.
cross-pollinating with lots of different dahlias.
Right. You have to take the tuber or part of the plant and grow that to get that same dahlia that you were looking for.
How'd you figure that out?
Oh, smarter people than us figured
Yes,
it out.
yes.
The dahlia growers of Whatcom County.
Well, so most of the people in the association are on the older side of life,
Mhm.
70s and 80s, and they actually are making their own varieties. And I'm just blown away by the fact that these dahlias that I'm looking for in these big catalogs or these great big shows, the guy who made it is right here in Linden.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And
not only did he make a few that are available worldwide, but he's
Yeah.
got hundreds
Yeah.
of varieties that aren't distributed.
yeah. And so I just decided, well, let's grow his varieties. I mean,
Yeah.
he's right here. How cool is that? Bellingham is very in tune with, hey, this is grown locally. Yeah, it was made locally and grown locally, right? So that's even cooler in my book. Well, most of the folks that I met that actually do that kind of thing, they are in their 70s or 60s or 80s, and they have some of the most sought after dahlias, but they're just growing in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And once they make it and they sell a few, and then somebody else sells a few, and then it goes to a company, maybe a farm like ours, who might grow a couple hundred of them, then it starts to get out there. But the person who made that dahlia, they're not really profiting.
Mm-hmm.
When my farm grows 1,000 of this, they don't.
Are you able to patent it?
Well, so what I'm doing is I am partnering with these guys,
Yeah.
and I'm saying, when I sell one of these tubers, I'm going to give you $1 for everyone that has your name on it.
Yeah.
Everyone that you created. So now they're just doing what they like to do, and that's come up with these cool, odd
Brilliant.
dahlias, and they're giving it to me, and I'm selling them, and I'm giving them checks every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
So
happy. Yeah.
expand their crop. We grow it out,
Right.
and then we market it to our customers, and we ship it, and they don't have to worry about anything besides the royalties. So they could patent it. That's a really
They
great
could.
question. There
It
are
is.
areas of the plant world that plant propagation has strict patent rules. Roses are really. This hardly exists at all in the dahlia world, and we're trying to, from a grassroots level, change this.
Because they can't recreate the same. Most people can't recreate the same
No.
dahlia, right?
No,
No,
I mean,
you can't. It's
I'm gonna
unique.
patent this thing, and it's who knows?
But the
Yeah.
thing is, so if you, I'll just take a name of a popular rose, David Austin. That's
Okay.
a popular garden rose that people would know if they grow roses. And if you start selling that, if you start propagating those roses and selling it, you could be in a lot of trouble.
What's the guy's name that created the rose?
David Austin.
David Austin.
Yeah.
So if I told my wife, "Hey,
This
I
is
got
a-
you David Austin," she'd
She
probably
would
know.
say,
should
Come here, I'm giving you a big, wet, sloppy kiss.
Yeah, get over here.
Yeah, they're awesome.
All I've wanted is a David Austin.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
She's been living her whole life waiting for you to do that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So there are dahlias like that
Yeah.
everyone's like, this is my unicorn. I wish I could just get this dahlia.
Right.
But even if they were to get it, if you bought your wife a David Austin, if the nursery is doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're paying a royalty
Interesting.
back to
Yeah.
the David Austin company. Eventually it will get there,
Mhm.
but that's not happening. So Steve's idea was, let's do this in a way that can benefit these creators. And it has been such an awesome thing for our business, because these people aren't just interested in sharing their dahlias with you or with us, but their knowledge as well.
Yeah.
They're natural mentors, and they
Mhm.
are incredibly generous with letting us come and look in their fields, and they want to know, what do your customers want? And we want to know everything that they have. We just are learning so much from them, and just benefiting from their years and years of experience in life, as well as their dahlia knowledge. That they're
So it's the
sweet
problem
friends.
that you solved. It's the problem that your business solved, which was connecting the creator. Because not every creator, there's so many amazing creators out there.
Mhm.
Not every creator is a business person
Nope.
or wants to be a business person.
Well, and that's the thing that we hit on very early. Only a couple of them were actually selling at any scale, but it was all small, right?
Yeah.
They put 20 in the ground, and next year they're going to put another 20 in the ground, and they sell whatever they don't want to keep for their own field. So it's very limited, right? And meanwhile, everybody's like, we got to get that one. But then the second thing is there's some people that want to create it, but they don't want to talk to people.
Yeah.
They don't want to sell to people. They don't want to have to, okay, you want 15 of this, you want 2 of that, and you want 1 of that. That's too much work. I'm just going to go out in my garden and garden.
Mm-hmm.
So we take over that aspect of it. And like she said, we kind of grow a lot more than just 20.
Yeah.
And then we ship them all over the United States.
Yeah. So it's been really great for us to get to know these people better and to help them get their creations out into the world.
Yeah.
And so it's also a way for our business to not just be profitable, but do some good in the world, like do some social good by helping these people have, augment their retirement. But we also are trying to be really careful with them and help them. We are not financial advisors, and we're not giving them financial advice, but we are helping them realize that they may need some financial advice as their income increases. So it's just been, there's a lot of room for this to grow for our.
It's a good two-way relationship.
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
This check, is this going to mess your pension up?
Yeah.
Okay, well then you should talk to somebody who deals with money, because we can't.
Don't deposit it yet.
Yeah, that's right.
And just hold off on
Go talk
deposit.
to someone.
Yeah.
But it is an exciting problem to have. It's a good way for us to speak and lean into their lives.
And I love that this is local. These are people in Linden, and I want to shift into demand. I think flowers are beautiful. I think there's lots of beautiful flowers, and I definitely know of dahlias. How are there people out there that are like, I know this specific dahlia and I have to have it, and there's this one guy in Linden that has 20 of these, and I'm willing to pay probably a lot for it, like a pretty penny for this unique dahlia. How do you find these people? How do you find people that not only just love flowers but know dahlias, and how do you target that customer?
I think most of our marketing has been from social media. We do almost no paid marketing each year, but we started our Instagram account in 2014, and it's really blossomed and grown. And
I like it. Blossom.
Yeah.
Well,
and it has given us a way to impact a lot of people's lives by providing content that's educational, but also that shows our products that we sell. So it's a really good question. The dahlia community, like most small communities like this, is pretty tight knit. And if someone hears about someone else who's selling dahlia tubers, they'll, word of mouth is really powerful. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that it's just social media. We have a really good sized email list. People sign up so that they can get notification of when we're going to have a sale. But the demand is huge. Like it's crazy what happens when you have a dahlia sale. We only tell our email list, and we will sell out tens of thousands of dahlia tubers in a number of minutes. And we get, I have to gear myself up mentally, turn off the comments on my social media, because we get so much hate mail from people who didn't get what they wanted.
You ruined my life. I needed this pink dahlia.
I actually was just
sorry. It's either pink, blue, yellow, white, green, whatever. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
get these
was
details.
talking to another dahlia grower this week who had a sale, and I just reached out to her because I saw the comments on her social media. People are just livid with her that they didn't get, basically having a fit because they didn't get what they want.
Let's talk about that.
Well, I just reached out to her and said, I just want to see if you're doing okay. I care about you. I want you to remember that this is a sign that your business is doing well, and it's not your responsibility to meet everyone's, I said all the things to her, right? And she was, those were some brutal comments. She was hurting a little bit. And so it's something that we deal with as part of our business. People just think, oh, flowers are so wonderful, and they are, but it's just, this is the reason why we didn't want to do retail tubers in the beginning, because sometimes customer service can be such a brutal part of it. So one day we're going to grow big enough that we'll have a customer service team. We already have one person who does this and helps us out with this, but then, we can not have to deal with that part of it. But I shouldn't just be talking about how negative it is. That's personally for me, Steve.
But it's the reality of it. I think, and that's, I'm not, it doesn't, there is negative in running a business. There is that part of it, which I appreciate the vulnerability around that, because it resonates with me. You get this feedback from people, and as you scale, you have less and less of an opportunity to make a direct relationship with somebody. You're social media, 75, 80,000 people that are following what you're doing and really appreciate it. But there are people out there that one thing sets them off, or that's just the way humans are, right?
It is totally true. So earlier I was talking a little bit about relationships, how we try to maintain our own, and then we in my mind we have these tiers. We have our kids right at the heart of it, right? And then we have friends and family, our church community, and social media is such an in-your-face available, easy to access community,
Mhm.
that it's easy for that to move really close to the inner
close,
circle
yeah.
more quickly.
Yeah.
One thing we've
Yeah.
done this past year, we've just started, and it is going really well, is that we've started a members only digital community that people can buy a year subscription to, and then those people, we're talking face to face with them almost every day, like with DMs or live like FaceTime type thing, or just chatting with them and answering their specific questions. And I feel less pressure to deal with the 75,000 Instagram questions since I have these other people that I'm committed to investing in. And when I just kind of think about the balance of, okay, who do I really need?
Yeah.
If my daughter needs me to help her with something personal in our house, that's way more important than answering this question from someone who's squawking really loudly on my social media or on my phone. My daughter might be asking me really quietly, and it's super easy for me to get that twisted around the way it shouldn't be. So anyway, we've tried to put in some protections against that, but it's a intentional decision to think about outcomes versus feelings for me every day.
And with social media, the people that are making the most noise or being the most malicious, it's such a small percentage. You just pay attention to them because they're the ones that are just rah, 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 but it's just a small percent of a percent. And then you look at everybody else, you're like, well, everybody else.
Yes, they don't have the same problem.
No, they're loving it. They're saying, thank you so much. This is the best Dahlia tubers we ever got, or this is the best service, or you're the best company. And it's just these 2 people or these 3 people over here that are rah, 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 rah.
And we're really committed to dealing with those people kindly. They deserve kindness, and they deserve
a response.
A response, right? But it's just what I have to be careful of is not letting that tilt my thinking.
And not spending 4 hours on that comment and only 30 seconds on this comment.
And it might not be 4 hours that we're working on it, but 4 hours that we're obsessing about it, right?
Right.
We, it's very generous. Yeah,
Well,
I'm obsessing.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Staying in our lanes helps too, because where that does kind of wound her personally, it doesn't really wound me.
Yeah. So how did you grow that filter? I mean, did you start out with a filter like that, or was everything created equally when you started, and then all of a sudden you had to you just became more aware of what the priorities were as you grew your mission, vision, values for your company and your life?
I definitely think we grew into it.
Yeah. And I do think as you just mature, I mean, as we mature in our relationship to each other, some things about Sarah that in the beginning of our relationship, I really appreciated. Now I realize how much more I appreciate it, even though I was very appreciative and I loved the person that she was. I know now, okay, I still love the person that she is, but I might need to take that away from her or protect her from those malicious comments because she doesn't weather those storms very well, where, you can really say anything you want to me and I just don't care.
Yeah.
But so I think at the beginning of our business, like we would be like, oh, there's an opportunity, let's go for it. And we would dive in head first. And sometimes
not fully analyze all of the pros and cons of it. Yeah.
So
yeah. Somebody says, wow, you guys do great stuff. Could you supply this? Sure. But if you
didn't say who are you? And
but saying yes to this opportunity, you by default are saying no to some other things.
Yeah.
So really kind of looking at that and saying, oh yes, this is an opportunity to make this person really happy, to fulfill their, to serve their need. But that might mean that you have to say no to 15 other people. Well, now you have to start weighing saying, well, is it fair? Is it fair to my business that I'm trying to keep healthy to say no to all these other opportunities just so I can service that one customer? Maybe sometimes, and maybe no sometimes. And so just having a mature perspective and a mature system that says, okay, I got a request to do this. Let me ask somebody. Let me ask my business partner before I just say, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, it works both
take
ways.
a hike.
Like I have this really, the moment when I decided I wasn't doing weddings in King County or Snohomish County anymore was I was driving to do a wedding at a tree farm in Issaquah. And I was
south of the wall.
I had been so busy that I had everything all made except for some of the flowers needed to go in these little picks full of water to go into the arbor. So I was driving and I didn't know where I was going. I'd been there one time for a visit with the bride and I didn't remember. So I had my phone clipped onto how they used to clip into the air conditioning vent. I had a bucket of water right here, and I'm driving with one hand. I'm filling water picks with my left hand and watching the map and watching I mean, this is a very irresponsible story to tell.
Yeah.
But
if there's any law enforcement,
the traffic,
we don't ever do that anymore.
Oh, they're all going to be here in a minute. Yeah.
So I'm filling water picks just one-handed, and the traffic got really thick, and the car in front of me slammed their brakes on, and I slammed my brakes on, and my phone went boop, boop, right into that bucket of water. Well, I had no way to know where I was going anymore because my phone was dead. And I remember stopping at a casino gas station and finding a payphone. There was still a payphone, and finding a quarter and calling Steve, like, can you please MapQuest my place to me? And I was also listening to the kids in the background, and it just was like this moment of clarity when everything kind of chinked into place. Like, why am I doing this? Sure, it's profitable, but what's it costing me? And so those kind of moments are good because they can help you realize decisions you need to make in the future. Like, I could do this, but what will it actually cost me?
Well, yeah, and I think maturing as humans, but as business people too, there is a little bit of, I guess, self-aggrandizing or something. Yeah, I can do this. I can
do anything.
I can operate on 4 hours of sleep while I'm doing this, and then at the same time I can do this and this and this and this. But those chickens are going to come home to roost, right? And obviously, we had to buy another iPhone. Yeah. Just little things like that, or again, saying yes to all these kind of opportunities that seem great, and maybe you can beat your chest and say, "Yeah, look what I did." But if you just step back, you're like, "Boy, if I just wasn't beating my chest so much, I could do something way better that would serve more people." And it would just be smarter.
And be more of your ideal customer as well.
I think there is a sort of frenzy that happens at startup, right? Mm-hmm. For any business, there is a pace that you
figure out which. Throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall.
Right, but that's not sustainable. So to try to keep doing that 10 years or 20 years into your business, I think that's where you're not going to be as. That's beyond being agile. That's just you're not going to be healthy.
Right, and it limits you too, right?
Yep.
Your business can be very profitable while you can handle all the work, but then
inch deep, mile wide versus mile deep, inch wide. I think I got that right.
Yep, you did.
We're going to say yes anyway.
Sweet. I finally got something right. Let's talk about brand. Social media is a big part of how you communicate your brand, which you guys have done an amazing job with, just scrolling through. I feel like I understand, you get to know the people behind the brand, and that's how we operate. And it really means a lot to me when I see another brand that's going, look, this is who we are. This is how we operate. We're human. We want to show you what we do. Right. We want to show you that we're local, whatever the mission, vision, values are. So you guys have done an amazing job with that. Coming from someone that has, 1,200 followers on Instagram to someone who's, but the whole point is, let's talk about brand. You've done an amazing job with it. How did you come up with the name? What was your launch angle with Triple Wren Farms? Did you say?
Our launch angle. That's great.
Yeah.
We didn't have a launch angle.
We didn't understand any of it.
Well, you did.
We did, but we didn't know what it was.
Yeah, there you go. It wasn't pointing into the ground. It was pointing at least somewhat off the ground.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we just did a lot of things.
So we needed to name our business because we needed a business license because we needed to cash a check. Okay, so we were like,
it's always about money.
Our head, like, what are we going to name this business? We didn't even know. And I'm going to tell the story. Okay. I clearly remember Steve standing in the house to me and saying, well, this isn't going to go anywhere anyway. Just call it Triple Wren, because our son is Steve the Third. We call him Trey. It's his nickname. So he's the triple. And our daughter is Chloe Wren. So her middle name is Wren. So Triple Wren. Just call it that because that's cute and that'll be great. And I just think about it a lot. This isn't going to turn into anything anyway.
Yeah.
So you were just a doubter.
She always rubs it into my face that we're like, well, we need to get a business license. So a business license, I think at the time was
$19.
Yeah, $19. I'm like, we're not going to buy a business license until we actually have cash flow.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. And he wasn't being rude or unkind. It's just like literally we bootstrapped our business. We used our tiny tax refund and I sold a musical instrument so we could buy our first seats. Like we were literally poor as church mice. We had risked a lot to move here from the Southeast for a job for Steve, a contract job that ended up ending after about 2 years. And we were just like, about to move back east because we didn't know what else to do. We were like when we started farming. So we saw a spark of vision of where this could go. I don't think we thought it would go where it is today, but as far as our angle, I kind of knew that social media existed and wasn't really a part of my life. When we had the business for about 2 years, we were selling at the market in Seattle and there were lots of people asking me for my Instagram. So I started an Instagram and I think that it grew quickly because we had lots of people who were already interested in our business because of that market, and then through word of mouth. But once we began posting regularly and really trying to teach people about what we do, it grew much more quickly. People became more interested in it. Pretty pictures of flowers is a good thing to do on Instagram. It's a whole aesthetic, right? Yeah.
Nature of flowers.
Yeah. It works really well for that. So, I mean, I've gotten lost in the
No,
weeds
that's great. I think the reason I say trajectory is because, you'd mentioned, faith, you'd mentioned your vision of how you wanted to live your life, all of these things. Tell me about, well, I've noticed that when a business has, or when people have a really strong why and reason for doing what they're doing, no matter what it is, positive things mostly, they find their way to success because they love what they do and they have a really strong why. Tell me about guidance, faith, events, kind of all this part of your business that's grown the awareness really, and community for that matter.
Sure.
Yeah, I think with working hard, I think most people, if you work hard, you'll experience a little bit of success. And as we had a little bit of success, we looked at ourselves and said, okay, if we weren't worried about failing, if we didn't have to worry about anything, what would we do what direction would we go with our business? What would we do? What would we focus on?
And we ask questions like, what makes us happy? What do we have time in the winter, especially before we were selling to YouTubers, to talk about these things.
Yeah.
What makes us
we
happy?
used to have time in the winter. It was free.
Yeah.
And what makes us happy? What do we feel most fulfilled when we're doing?
Right.
We have the luxury of asking ourselves those questions.
Yeah. And so having more on-farm events really centered around our faith and inviting people to just examine and to look at that, and then creating a space for that to happen is kind of the way we shifted things. And then it just kind of went hand in glove with the Dahlia side of things taking off.
Well, I think it's really an unusual era of history in the world. And I might be wrong about this, but I think that it is an unusual era when people are the face of their business, right? So if we're going to be authentic, and we want to be authentic people, and we want to, we sell Dahlia tubers. We are a for-profit nursery business. We're not a church, and we don't sell faith-based products at all, So we could just be a little bit two-dimensional and just show just the flower part of our lives. But because I think, especially on social media, people are really interested in knowing more of your whole story. I mean, let's be honest, we're not showing the messy back pasture, right? We're trying to keep that Instagram aesthetic.
That's a separate tour. That's the Halloween tour, right?
Exactly.
The messy back pasture.
Right.
That's what I call the laundry basket.
Yes, exactly. Right. So we're not trying to be that authentic, but we are trying to present ourselves as whole people. Like the fact that we're married and we're business partners is really interesting to people. And because faith is a big part of our lives, it has entered into especially our social media presence. Triple Wren has had for the past 3 or 4 years an evening that's like a Christian women's evening, or this year it's going to be a Christian family evening, but it's not like, and we have wrestled with this, honestly, like it's not the main thrust of our business. It's just we do this out of the extra because it's what we love.
Part of who you are.
And so it has ended up that way. And I try to not be afraid to talk about my faith. I'm not doing a weekly sermon, and Steve's not doing a weekly sermon on our Instagram, but if it's something that matches, and we
unless there's a demand for that.
Yeah,
we might be happy to.
Hey, this guy over there, I know the lane.
That's a different Instagram.
Yeah, it's a different side. Yeah.
Though it does come out sometimes just naturally in the way that we are. And sometimes I feel a little afraid because it does alienate some of our customers who don't have the same faith. We've experienced that. We've experienced people being upset with us for talking about our faith, but I don't look at it as anything particularly difficult. We don't talk about politics on our platform.
It's a good thing not to talk about.
It's just something we absolutely
Speaking of which, let's talk about politics right now. Let's dive into it.
There's lots of things that we're just like, no, our business doesn't need to take a stand on this. We are real people, and we have political views, but it doesn't really fall into, but this is something that is such an integral part of our lives that it has bled into it a little bit.
Right, because it dictates what we're doing.
Well, the beautiful part is that you're not taking a stance, you're just being you.
Right.
And that's powerful. And you're selling dahlias, and it just happens to be a part of, as people follow along with who you are, your brand, what it represents, they are very clear, like this is who they are. I love their product. In fact, they could disagree with who you are and what you do. I would find that very hard to disagree with who you guys are. But like for the person that just wants dahlias, they can also still shop
Right.
and buy dahlia tubers.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And it's something that is evolving for us too. Like we're just trying to learn how to navigate this. We did not have a clear trajectory for how we would blend our business and our faith. There's no plan for that exactly. We realized that we have resources at our farm that would lend itself to. We do a biannual dahlia camp. People can come and just get 3 really intensive days of learning dahlias in our field because it's perfectly set up for it. We have illustrations of what to do and what not to do. We have a classroom situation. It's all perfect. But there's other events that fit really nicely in it too. We do a yearly dahlia festival where usually we have between 1,500 and 2,000 people come through the farm over a weekend, and they pay $10 to get in, and then they can, if they want to pay to pick flowers, they can. But they just really want to. It's kind of like the tulip festival, only a much smaller scale
and way prettier.
Yeah, less traffic.
Yeah, less traffic, and instead of having a field of yellow, we have 15 different types of yellow.
I know where I'm going next year.
You need to come, and we've actually shifted it in 2023 where it's going to be 3 evenings, so it's all at golden hour. It's
Maybe we should set the tone that there is tons of traffic, so no one, only the right people show up to it,
we do
and we don't have to deal with Seattle.
Our neighbors on Zell Road, thank you in advance.
Yeah.
They're so patient with us. They know it's just a short time, but we sell tickets, and we usually do sell out because we do have limited parking, so we can't just keep it open for everybody. Our neighbor is so kind and lets us park on the edge of his field, sometimes in his field, depending on where he is on cutting hay. He's so kind. We have just been surrounded by, and that's the thing that I think we really have a lot to be grateful for, that as we have grown in this business, we've had colleagues and friends, new friends here in Whatcom County, and neighbors who have just laid into our lives in such a gracious and kind way. We wouldn't even own the property we have now if it wasn't for a farmer neighbor who was near us when we were babysitting at the orchard, who told us about an opportunity, and we were able to buy the farm we have now. So
So let's talk about the events really quickly. So it sounds like you're monetized. They're monetized. So people pay to show up. It's production. There's things happening that you pick. But it's not the most profitable part of your business, I'm assuming, because dahlias seem to be pretty profitable.
Right.
But you do it for community relationships, getting people in person with your brand.
Right.
Even with the ability to market to 75,000 plus people, how powerful, on this scale of profitability and awareness, brand awareness, like tell me about why you started doing these events, like why it was important. It's not, you could maybe scooch the rows over and do more dahlias and that would make you more money, but you found this need to connect with your customer.
Yeah. It's again, back to who we are.
Yeah.
Right. And
we started doing it with the Sustainable Connections Farm Tour. That's the first year we did it. We called it a dahlia festival associated with their tour.
That's
because we wanted to be a part. You were a part of their farm.
Yeah, they
program.
had a business program that I went through. And,
it was really valuable to us.
Yeah, it kind of helped straighten out some things, and it solidified some things that we were kind of curious about. But they introduced us to other farmers, and then those farmers were like, you're going to want to make sure that you have this, and you're going to want to. And so, so in the very beginning, you don't know which direction is up. So that helped there. And then they want to create an awareness for the farms. And so we were part of that. And so,
then we ended up moving it. We outgrew that a little bit. We ended up having a festival that was plenty more than enough to bring people to only our farm. And so, it's a really good question. People fly to our tour. We sell a VIP a couple hours before for a VIP. People fly from almost every state.
You guys are brilliant. I love it. This is great.
And it's really crazy. They would like to talk to us, and they would like to see. And it's actually really humbling to think that people want to come and
because they think we're something special. We're not.
But I think
you guys are pretty cool.
It's good for bringing tourism.
But you also are very down to earth.
Because there's nothing special about us.
Well, I think it's a good event to bring tourism to Whatcom County. So there's that little aspect of it in my mind. I don't know how much we really impact by bringing, 1,500 people here on a weekend. But in my mind, there's that. It is a really special thing to be able to see because we are people oriented. And a lot of the business that we do now is an online store. When we ship stuff away, we never really get to see. We shipped almost 46,000 dahlia tubers last year. So those went into gardens, and hopefully they mostly grew in people's gardens.
Well, at some point it's on the user, right?
Yeah.
It's a user problem.
We have
user error.
Green baby flowers all over the country. We only ship in the United States, but it is it's really special when we get to have people come and they they are able to, and it's really fun to watch them enjoy what we've created at the farm. We tried really hard to make it a beautiful place. Our slogan is that we share beauty. Actually, not just that we share beauty. We changed it. We want it to be share beauty so that you, Leo, can share beauty too.
Right.
So
I love
Yes.
it.
So the
Meeting all those people and listening to their stories, and a lot of them kind of shared personal, like, I was going through a really hard time, and person in their family was sick, and they really kind of went through that hard time enjoying the beauty of the garden, and we're part of that.
Mhm.
So
It
those are
actually
special
it
things.
fits really well with our farm because our crew also gets to see people enjoying the flowers, which is really special for them. They work really hard for us, and they work, we work hard right with them, but we get to see the emails and the back end of the social media where they don't always get to see that. So they get to see people, and then it just means good hygiene for our farm if we're keeping it weed free and just cherry so it's ready for the festival.
Mhm.
And
Keep it a lot cleaner if you got visitors.
Yeah, you clean your house before
motivation.
people come over.
Yeah,
There you
right.
go.
It's so true. And then also just like we want to make sure that we see and observe and get feedback from people about what they enjoyed seeing most, which varieties they
Not
liked
behind the
seeing
keyboard.
most.
That's important too. In person, people are a lot nicer.
Yep.
For the most part.
And for
A
marketing.
lot less bold.
Yeah.
Less bold.
They're talking to my face.
Yeah.
They don't really. Yeah.
And-
And they're looking at the shirt and they're like, man, he's wearing a flower shirt. He's bold. I can't be as bold as him right now.
Well,
Oh,
also
it's a great
too,
shirt.
it's just really great marketing because it's sort of like window shopping.
Mhm.
Like they are like, oh, look how beautiful that is. I've got to have that, and then they tell two friends about it, who tell two friends about it, and
Mhm.
then we sell out sales really quick. So
Tell two, that tell
yeah.
four.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Let's see if you can sell 16 of your friends.
Yeah. 2012 to now, it's been a journey. Like
Yeah.
all of this has been a journey for you guys. There's a lot of people out there that maybe didn't have the same, lack of ceiling on how they thought, creativity, but they have a really good idea or they have a passion for something or a why to do something. And for those that are listening, a lot of them either are excited about hearing about local business owners and what they do and their story. Others are listening to get some motivation to start their own business. So what kind of, in a nutshell, what's some advice that you would give someone in either one of those stages of life? To where would you send them? What direction would you point them?
Just start.
Just start.
Do something. Yeah, like Sarah was saying earlier, if you want to make whatever, do it. Find out what's involved in it, and if you fail, that's not really failure. That's just, if whatever you do doesn't succeed, that's a learning opportunity.
Mhm.
And it's a cheap way to learn. If you say, hey, I want to make jelly beans,
Mhm.
and then you can't, okay, well, now you know what not to do. Now figure out what to do.
Get the buttered popcorn flavor out of there.
There you go.
Oh no, that's my
Yeah.
favorite.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Oh, first person I've ever met who likes the
Oh,
buttered
I
popcorn.
do. But I think
I eat the black licorice. She eats the butter popcorn.
All right.
I think I would expand it a little bit more to say set some goals. Like just
That's true.
get started for sure, but like make a goal and try to meet that goal.
Mhm.
And I would really encourage you. I'm not just trying to sell I'm just starting to teach on Thursday, a 2-week everyday live course on goal setting for your garden, right?
Mhm.
But so in our new community, but I'm not just trying to sell that. Like this is really what I passionately believe, that if you set goals and include in that set of goals that you set, some that stretch you a little bit and push you a little bit further than you think you could go, you'll be very surprised at what you can actually accomplish. Like this past year, we did have this Christian Women's Night, and we brought someone from Colorado, a well-known person in Christian women's circles, and we had more than 500 women at our farm that night. It was a huge stretch. Like I had to rent this super expensive tent to put them all in.
Tents
Like,
are expensive,
it is,
for the record.
and it was my first time, and I'm trying to act like I know what I'm doing, but it was scary, and it was a big stretch for us to bring all those people and know where we're going to park all of them, and like make sure they all had a cute lemonade and a cute bag and all the things, but it was so rewarding. It was so great, and we would never have done it if we hadn't tried to do it.
Mhm.
So I don't think we should just like shoot for the moon. I'm probably never going to get in a rocket ship to the moon, but do seriously include some goals and then record meeting those goals and encourage yourself, and then make bigger and bigger goals as you go forward.
Yeah, set attainable goals.
Mhm.
Like you might not think that you can attain them, but make sure they're attainable and make sure they're measurable, and then keep good records. Those are some keys, I think.
Those
for
are
that.
And repeat.
And repeat.
Yeah.
Repeat
love
and
it.
stretch.
Repeat
Yeah.
and stretch.
Yeah.
I love it.
Let's see.
Well, I appreciate you both coming in here and sharing your story, the vulnerability around being a business owner. We have to put on this sometimes this just the shield, the rhino skin, and you go out there and you just do it. And sometimes there's, you have a partner to talk to about it, and sometimes you have no one to talk to about it. So really appreciate you sharing your story, and such an amazing business that you're running. You should be very proud of what you've created for a community, for the creators, but also like I just absolutely love, and this gets me excited about why we do this, which is you just tried. You didn't really know what you're doing at the start, but you're willing to try. You asked questions. It's not really where you are is very difficult to get where you are, but it's not. It's simple. It's just not easy. And if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? But it's really inspiring. So I appreciate you coming in and telling your story, because this is like my monthly. I know Tiffany and Coop, we get amped up monthly. We get to meet with people that are really rad and have just tried and gone out there and been relentless about their goals. So this is episode 5. We did it. I appreciate you coming into the studio. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.